When Corey asked me to be Speaker of the House, the guest speaker, for the prayer breakfast, I wanted to run away the other direction. But a voice came into my mind and said, you don't want to be Jonah. You don't want to spend 3 days in the belly of the big fish. And he said, look into my eyes, Corey said. So I did look into her eyes, and he said, the Holy Spirit wants you to be Speaker in August. So here I am. When Corey says that, you gotta listen and obey. And she's not here, and I can say that. The journey of faith. Isn't it just wonderful that in the Bible, the whole of the Bible is all about the journey of faith of people. Adam and Eve were sent out on a journey, go and multiply. Abraham was sent out to go on a journey to the land of Canaan. And he did it all in faith and trust in God. Moses did the same thing. Led the people of Israel on a journey. King David, all of them, in the Old Testament, it's all about the journey of faith in God. In the New Testament, same thing. The journey of faith. Our journey of faith, you know. The apostles were sent out, was blessed by Jesus, and he told them, go, baptize everyone in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Go on a journey. And until our journey, and we are all being fed, there is always bread for the journey. There was always, God was always present. In the desert, He was always present through the manna, the bread from heaven. Our own journey into our lives, our journey from earth into heaven, we are being fed by the bread of the journey, the body and blood of Christ. Isn't that amazing? Yes. That's our journey of faith. God is always with us. And so, I would start, in my journey of faith, I've always been mesmerized by beauty. And this morning, I would like to embarrass a few people. The beauty of my family. I would like to introduce to you my wife, sitting here, Mel, who are here to support me, of course. And once I introduce them, you know, their love for me will not change. And of course, my daughter is over there with my grandchildren. Elijah, Raquel, and the youngest, my grandson, Noah. I think he's starting to sleep now. And my niece, Catherine, and her husband, June. I would like to start with the church where I grew up. It's called the Parish Church. This wonderful building behind me here. This is where it all started. Yeah, listen. This magnificent church was built in the early 1600s by Spain to the Augustinian friars in 1600 something. That's old. It's 405 years old or something like that.
Almost as old as you.
Yes. This is where I was baptized, and my father, you know, my father became the sacristan mayor of this church. And when I was growing up, this was my elementary years, my father did everything here. He was the parish secretary, he was the custodian, he was the bell ringer, prepared the mass, he took care of the priests. And of course, my 3 brothers were his assistants, and a few other boys. But while this was happening, I was always looking, observing of what they were doing. And sometimes they would give me the menial jobs, you know, cleaning the pews inside the church, washing the floors, mopping the floors, and also they would assign me to clean and shine the shoes of the priest, of the parish priest. And I was young, I was 7 years old, I think. And I earned a nickel for every pair of shoes. And the priest had only 2 pairs. There it is. That's the inside of the church. And inside the church, the Augustinian friars left their mark by carving out the inverted heart of Jesus, which is, I think, was their symbol. And isn't it that amazing that St. Augustine, even a long, long time ago, he said, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in thee." You know, we have all the power, we have money, we have this and that. Some people are famous, some people are so rich, and yet they are miserable. Our heart is restless until it rests in thee. So this, and growing up, trying to help my father, when I came of age, when I understood what it was to serve Mass, my father showed me everything. Prepare the vestments, prepare the bread and wine for Mass, showed me how to serve Mass in Latin. And I have to memorize every single word in Latin. I remember my first Mass, I was so young, and the priest said, "Dominus vobiscum," and I was mumbling words, and he said, you answer. I was so young, I didn't know. So I just mumbling words into my mouth, but he can't do anything because I was the only one with him. And so this place, this church was the center of the universe for us. We were growing up. You know how hard it is to talk about yourself? And I'm not used to this, talking about myself. So just bear with me. There are people and places and events in my life that I would like to share with you who formed me in my own growing up. In the 60s, we were in elementary. The people who were talking about them, the famous people who I remember were Pope John the 23rd, Pope Pius, Pope Paul VI. There was John F. Kennedy, and I guess the famous boxer, Muhammad Ali. These were the people who were in the news, big time. In 1963, the Vatican II came out. Remember those days? So, to some of us, those. And these were the people, growing up, I could hear people talking about them, and I didn't know who they were until I went into high school seminary. Right after I graduated elementary, there was a guy, he was a major seminarian in the big city, in San Carlos Seminary, in the Philippines. He took us and my cousin to go to the big city, the city of San Fernando now, but he took us to the Mother of Good Counsel Seminary. I think I was 13 years old, and he put us in a corner, And he tried to brainwash us. You know, whatever happens, if the priest asks you, why do you want to become a priest? Just tell them, I want to serve God and people. Can you do that? I want to serve God and people. Okay, that's good. Just remember that and don't forget what it is. As soon as he asks you, why do you want to become a priest? Just answer, I want to serve God and people. I did not understand anything what he was saying. I did not even know what a seminary was. I didn't even know that this was a school. That this is where I was going to go. And so, when it was my turn to be interviewed by this priest, and he asked me, why do you want to become a priest? I said, I don't want to become a priest. I don't even know why. In my own English, I was trying to learn English at this time, and I don't know, Father. I'm 13 years old. And then he said, I think I'll take you in. At least you're honest. Okay. I didn't say that. I really didn't have a clue of what was happening. I didn't even know that I was going in high school in this beautiful, magnificent place. Because we had a public high school in our town, in our own little town, where I think everybody, all of my friends, all of my friends went. And this guy was taking me into this school. But anyway, they gave me a list of what to bring. They asked me to bring my report card. And the list that they gave me, I have to bring my own beddings, I have to bring my own clothes, I have to bring. I said, am I going to live there? Oh yes! So, for 5 years, I stayed in the high school seminary, studying to become a priest. In my first year high school, that was about grade 7, something like that. I was, but 12, 13, I slept in my own bed. While back home, we slept on the floor with all my brothers. Because there was 8 of us, and there was only 2 rooms. One for my parents and one for my grandmother. And the rest of us slept on the floor. And I had my own bed with a cushion. Yes! But did you think the first night, I didn't sleep. I wanted to go home. I was homesick. I was so homesick, you know, I don't know if I cried or not, but I was homesick. But then I realized that my new life began. Discipline, structures, straight ahead. From 5:30 a.m. to lights out at 10 p.m., my life was that. Everything was on schedule. 5:30 rise, 6 o'clock chapel, 7 o'clock breakfast, and and school, and studies. Afternoon, clean, they call it manual labor. We have to clean the whole building. We had assignments, and this was it. We were all young boys. There was about 150 of us. There were 5 classes. First year, second year, third year, fourth year, and fifth year. And there we were. We lived in the same building. We prayed in the same chapel. We ate the same food. We were under the same priests for 5 years, forming us, telling us what to do, telling us, teaching us all these other subjects, English, math, chemistry, you name it. But then in 1972, martial law in the Philippines was declared. And the Marcos regime started. And for us young men, young boys, we didn't understand what was happening, but we just imagined that the military would take over the country. And then it all started that when my brothers and all their friends, they thought about leaving the country, going abroad. And one of them, my brother, landed in Edmonton. And they started his new life there. And a few years after, he tried to sponsor my other brother and sister. But as for me, I was left behind and continued my studies and went to college seminary. College seminary was different. I had to take the most difficult exam, entrance exam, college entrance exam in the Philippines. It was so hard, it was so difficult, there was about 1,000 questions. And all I did was trust in God and pray to God that I would make it. And lo and behold, I passed the entrance exams and the interview. The funny thing is, I would be able to choose which college seminary I would go to. I was assigned again. So I was assigned to the San Jose Seminary run by the Jesuits. San Jose Seminary, and they have the Loyola House of Studies, and they have a college, the Ateneo de Manila, which is for many Filipinos. It's a famous school. It's the rich kids school. When I went there, I was in shock, because coming from a small town, when I see all this richness, you know, cars, beautiful cars, chauffeur-driven cars, rich students, they pay with their blank checks, they pay with, you know, nice clothes, everything nice. And so that began, but the way I look at it for now, I think the balance was there. You go to the college to study, and I go to the seminary with my classmates and friends who all came from different places in the small towns of the Philippines, small villages, and we were formed in San Jose Seminary to become priests. And the person I admired most there was one of my classmates who is now the Cardinal of Manila, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. I think you have heard of him. This guy is a genius. His grades were A classes, no lower. He didn't take any final exams. He was always exempted. And I'm just wondering, God, where was I when you gave this talent? Why did you give it all to him? And I have to struggle in my studies, you know, racking your heads with philosophy, sciences, and everything. But he was just there, you know, looking easy, taking notes. And at the end of the day, he will ace the exam. But one thing I learned from him too is he worked hard. He worked hard, and he was the kindest person you will ever meet. He had a good heart, and I said, if I can become like him, I'll be fine. And you know what? When I left the college seminary, when I decided that the seminary is not for me, the priesthood is not for me, when I got married with my beautiful wife here, the Cardinal and my classmates went down to see me, and they sang at our wedding, which was the greatest treat that had ever happened to us. And I think he still remembers that. Oh, did I ever tell you how old I am now? I'm almost 61 years old. And my best before date is still far, far away. And if there is anything that you can pick up from this silly talk and silly talking about me, is total dependence on God. Can you say that quietly in your hearts right now? Total dependence on God. In 1980, my father and mother and my younger sister, we moved to Edmonton from the Philippines. I don't know why, I don't know what reason, but we landed in Edmonton in 1980. August 15, my anniversary is coming up. August 15, 1980, so that's just a few years ago. And we didn't know what was going to happen to us. We left everything in the Philippines. We left everything. And I said, God, it's totally upon you. What we going to do here in Canada? But lo and behold, God is so good. God is so kind. God is so merciful. And God still loves us. During those years, trying to find a job, adjusting to the setting, to the environment. You know, the first thing I noticed here, my first day, I went out. We lived in an apartment on 124th Street and 115th Avenue. I went out the door and stood there. Not a single soul went by. For 2-3 hours. There were a few cars. But not a single soul walking on the street. And we Filipinos, back in the Philippines, there is lots of us, millions of us. You go, you don't have to go out of the house, you can hear people talking on the street. You go to church, there's people. You go to the market, there's people. You meet everybody. If I want to go from here to one block, it will take me an hour because people, you always bump into people. And when I landed in Edmonton, I woke up, went out the apartment doors, I stood there, literally, to meet somebody, to talk to somebody. Not a single soul, man. What am I doing here? There was a corner store, Yanta. Yanta Food Mart. There was not even a Max or anything like that. So I went there, just to talk to the people. And yes, they were immigrants. They came from Lebanon. So we started talking, trying to practice English all the time. Because there was need to make conversation, just to meet people. And they were so nice. And we had this conversation. Yes, we too. We just came here. And so, but don't worry, you know, you will make your life here. Just be patient.
Okay.
And I won't tell you about winter. You will experience it yourself. Boy, did I ever. My first winter was December. It started in October. The winds were changing. The winds were cold. November, started to snow. It never stopped. I got a job. I had to walk 3 blocks. It was in December. I had to walk 3 blocks to the bus stop. It was 30 below. I didn't even know if that's even possible. Minus 30. 3 feet of snow. And the sidewalk was so icy and snow. And the bus stop was so far away. It was 3 blocks. And you know what? I wrapped up myself. They said, bundle up. What do you mean bundle up? Go for clothes. So I did. I covered my head with that shawl or something. I wrapped my scarf. There you go. And these were what I can see. My eyes. I was crying. No, I wasn't. It was just so cold. My eyes started, my tears started to come out. And lo and behold, there were people at the bus stop. And I was so, I thought it was just me. Everybody was all bundled up and was freezing cold, waiting for the bus to go to work. That was my first winter. But the thing, For us Filipinos, when we arrive, where is the nearest church? Because it was Sunday. I have to go to Mass. I have to. So, but it was still summer then, we arrived in August. So we went to the church on 111th Avenue, St. Andrew's Church. And the kindest, the holiest priest I have ever met in my life. I forgot his name. That's something. He welcomed us and we told him our story. He said, we just arrived. And the first thing we tried to look for, Father, is the church. Oh yeah, he said, welcome, welcome. And he said, no man is an island. You see, you come here and you have to find people so you can relate. And here you found us. And lo and behold, the Catholic Mass was the same as the Catholic Mass in our church. And I was really, really amazed of how universal Catholic Mass is. We said the same prayers, we said the same, we did the same sign of the cross. There was holy water at the front. Everywhere I went, God was there. So when my wife and my daughter came to Canada, I moved out of the apartment and went into the West End of the city by the Annunciation Church. I had to find a place for us that's close to the church, close to the school, close to the grocery, so I don't have to buy a car. So that's what I did. We lived in the Annunciation Church. But when I first came there, I went to the church, and lo and behold, the oblates of Mary Immaculate were there. They were the fathers of the church. They handled the parish. And there were more oblates than parishioners. There were about 6 or 7 priests living at the house, at their residence, in the back of the church. And I thought I left the seminary already. Because the first thing they offered me was, do you want to be a reader? Do you want to serve Mass? Do you want to be a member of Parish Council? I said, easy, Father. I just arrived. Let me think about it. Oh, you don't have to. Just write your name. That's what I did. I put down my name. Well, okay. God will take care of the rest. So indeed, our lives began there at the Annunciation Parish until now. We've been going to church there for the last few years, 1984, something like that. And the vocation to the priesthood was really dwindling. When the oblates were, they were getting older, they were being moved somewhere else. So new priests they have to be replaced, and we met new priests, and I think the Holy Cross Fathers came. And these people, these priests, made a big impression on me in my faith, because many times you depend always on somebody to talk to about God, about your desires, your thing, if you're doing it right or wrong. And I have to talk to the priests in confession. While all this was happening, my wife found a place called the Center. Anybody remember the Center? Yeah, Josie. This was in the basement on 109th Street. And we went down there. My wife said, we can have lunch there. Just bring your lunch. There's a chapel. There's a room for us to eat. Lo and behold, we went down. beautiful people I met there. Sister Ann, Josie, Joe, the late Denise, Bill Moody, Tony Johnson, Betty Sorensen. All these people made an impact on us. You know why? Because my wife asked me to go to the prayer meeting every Wednesday. Oh my God. Okay, I will drive you there. What time is the prayer meeting? Around 7? How long? No, about 2 hours, 10 o'clock. I'll drop you home and I'll drive you there and maybe I'll come back for you. No. I stayed at the back, at the very back, way back. So the prayer meeting started. Just to let you know, I was introduced in my college years with the baptism of the Holy Spirit in college. This is in college seminary. The priest was Herb Snyder. He was a Jesuit. But we were so young, you know, we were teenagers. I think I didn't pay attention to it, which was a mistake. On my part now, the baptism of the Holy Spirit was new. It just came out of Vatican II, because that was around 70-something. So everything was new for us. The baptism of the Holy Spirit, the Charismatics was so new, was so fresh when it came to us in the seminary. And we didn't know anybody, we didn't know any other prayer group at that time. So, fast forward to the center, I sat in the back, and I saw all these people raising hands, singing joyfully, just like what we did here, speaking in tongues, speaking, I didn't know what they were saying, I didn't know that I was speaking in tongues, or anything like that. But I sat in the back, with my hands in my pocket. There is no way I'm going to raise my hand. I sang, but my hands were in my pocket. The next, a few prayer meetings about, I don't know, the next month or two, the praise and worship, my hands were out of my pocket. Here we go, Lord. My hands were out of my pocket. They were folded in my chest. I was singing, still singing. I got all these happy people. They have smiles on their faces. They have joy in their faces. They have joy in their hearts. I can feel it and I can see it because they're jumping out of their feet when they sing and they praise and worship the Lord. Where is this coming from? I never knew. The baptism of the Holy Spirit. And now, a few months went by, my hands were on my side. Open. A few months went by, up to my elbows. My elbows were stretched. Remember, total dependence on God. God help me. God please. God please. In your love and mercy. My hands were up to my ears. This time. And lo and behold, I heard somewhere that when you raise up your hands to God, Lord, you are God, and I am not. Help me. So that was the center for me. For my wife, it was different. She met our friends, our dearest BFFs today. Marian and Leo. Because at that time, we were so young, and we were trying, and everybody else was old. Because we were right there in between ages. We were so young, and we didn't know anybody in Edmonton. But at the center, we met all these beautiful people. And our lives have never been the same. at the prayer breakfast. Yeah, you can count on that. The center is a big part of my life, especially in my journey. At the first prayer breakfast that my wife and I attended. By the way, I just want to make this clear. I am the speaker of the house. I am the master of my house. Whatever my wife says shall be done. And one never changed. And one day, he said, we are going to a prayer breakfast. All right. At least it's a breakfast. Where is it? Let's go. I can pray. I can eat breakfast too. And she tried to entice me. He said, I heard they serve this Filipino bread, pandesal. That was in the 80s. I've never eaten pandesal for such a long time. So I said, let's go. It was on a Saturday. We woke up at the but we lived close to the Fantasyland Hotel, so we didn't have to drive so far. So we went there. People hugging each other at the door. Welcome. Praise be the Lord. I said, okay. Where's the food? So as soon as we started, I was sitting, Deacon stand, was the MC. And you know what I said to myself? You know what came into this crazy head? I think one day I can do that. I think one day I can be an MC of this breakfast. I don't know where that came from. I really don't. I said, God, if that's you, take it away from my mind and let me eat. So again, at this time, so at the same thing, you know that it hasn't changed. The same people, I think, but there were a few different faces. We started singing, praising the Lord. There were prophecies or something like that. Sister Man was over there, Sister Guyen, Eddie Guyen was there. They were the leaders of the Charismatic renewal. And of course, I met the music ministry, the Day Spring CCR, Tony Johnson and the crew. And of course, our good friend Bill Moody. So the prayer breakfasts, the prayer meetings, lo and behold, we formed our own prayer group. Can you imagine that? We in a prayer group. I was telling myself this. My wife was the leader. We did, but we had food first. They always entice me with food. So I go and I say yes. I don't mind that. So what we do is we bring potluck food and everything. And then what are we going to do first? Are we going to pray first, sing, or eat? I think we should eat first. Because we cannot go to the Lord hungry. But that was also very prophetic. Because we are always hungry for the Lord. No matter what you put in here, no matter how much you eat, no matter how good your clothes are, no matter what you read or think, I notice we are always hungry for the Lord. And yes, during those prayer meetings, we were talking about the Lordship of Jesus Christ, accepting Jesus as the Lord, as your personal Lord and Savior. I understood it at the time. I just didn't know it was possible for a Catholic to say that, because it was always a common thing for our other brother Christians in the other denomination. Jesus is Lord, our Lord and Savior. So we started in the prayer group, there was quite a few of us, and we were all trying to get to know the Lord personally, grow in the Spirit, trying to understand the baptism of the Holy Spirit, trying to understand the role of God in our lives, in our personal lives. And then I got a job. I haven't told you about my job, have I? So, when we arrived here in 1980, I noticed you got to work. My brother woke me up. After 2 weeks, you have to find a job, boy. I said, why? Well, everything here, nothing is free here. We have to pay for everything. You have to pay rent. You have to pay food, you have to pay this and that. No, I was just kidding. So I went around, applied a few jobs, and everybody was telling me there is not much jobs in Alberta right now because it's the great oil bust. Whatever that means, whatever that means, I didn't understand it. But Alberta was dependent on oil. The oil goes down, the economy goes down. And at that time, it was so low, it was so down, that there were hardly any jobs in Alberta. But there was a thing on the paper. I showed it to my brother. The city of Edmonton is hiring transit operators. What is a transit operator? It's a bus driver, which was my brother was. He took the job. My brother was an accountant at Canada Trust or something, but he took the job. So he said, I'm not saying that you should be a bus driver, but I think you should try it. It's an easy job. Really? Driving that big, huge bus is easy? And so, anyway, I put in my application, but they said I have to stay another 6 months, just for residency. So I did that, but in October 81, they took me in, and lo and behold, I was driving a bus around the city. And I didn't know much about the city, but the only way I passed the exam was I memorized the map. There was no Google or anything like that. So I went to the Provincial Museum at that time, and I saw a map of the city hanging on the wall. The city of Edmonton. And I asked the receptionist if they have a copy, extra copy of the map. So they said, oh yeah, well, we can spare you one. So they gave me one, and I memorized it from top to bottom. From north to south, east to west, and the central part of the city. I aced the exam. You know why? Because I prayed lots, and I memorized it day and night. And I remember the guy said, look at this guy. He's only been here a few months, and he knows where everything is. But I was thinking to myself, even if you take me there now, I won't be able to. I just memorized it, and I've never been there. But lo and behold, the job was paying triple the minimum wage. The minimum wage then was $2.75. So I said, hey, not bad, I'll take it. I thought it was just simple driving. My brother said, you can go up the ranks if you want. You can become this and that. 7:25. My time is almost up. Anyway, the part of bus driving was driving, right? Driving in the city with that big bus in the winter, summer, or fall. And you know, our winters here, they're about 6 months, 7 months if we're lucky. You drive in icy roads, snowy roads. But I only had one accident in 36 years. Thank you, Lord. My safety record is intact. thing I found out about my job, it was not only driving, it was helping people. The number one thing was welcoming people every single morning and every single afternoon. It doesn't matter how I feel, what matters is the customer. And I have to smile, and many times I don't. Because sometimes it's early morning, I don't know, there's lots of excuses, but it was welcoming people. Because my boss said, you are the first person outside the house that they are in contact with. So be nice. And lo and behold, just like Jesus, you have to welcome, just like the Catholic Church, everybody is welcome on my bus. Number two, it was giving directions. Giving directions. That's the second most important part, besides driving the customers safely to and fro. But for us, it was giving directions. See, the city, just by that, I know that the city of Edmonton is a city of immigrants from all over the place, from all over the world. And they always ask questions. How do you get there? Just this morning, I came in here. Tita was showing me the directions. She wants to go downtown. Is this right, really? That this bus goes to this, there? And she had a Google map printed. She printed it out of the ETS website. When I was driving, people would just ask, what bus goes to West Edmonton Mall? Oh, you take the bus 100, right there on Jasper Avenue going west. I don't know I don't know which is northeast, southwest. Okay, just go across the street, stand in front of that building, and make sure there's a bus that says bus, transit zone, and there's a 100, stand there until the bus comes. You see how important directions are? And now I'm thinking, what about those people that gave the wrong directions? What happened to them? Where are they now? I bet they must be... It's just like life. We always ask for directions from the Holy Spirit. Lord, what am I going to do? Where do you want me to be? Is this the real thing that you want me to do? We in the Charismatic renewal, that's the renewal. I thought the renewal in the 60s was changing the liturgy, was facing the altar to the people. It was all these outside things. They are things that we renew. We renew the vestments. We renew the adoration. We renew the sacraments. Before, there was a baptistry. That's where children are baptized. Now they changed that. They put it in on the altar to get closer. Those are important. Very, very important for Catholicism. They are. But what is most important is the renewing of our minds, the renewing of our hearts, the renewing of how we look at things. We always ask for directions. And I was thinking, my job is not bad. Giving directions to people. And another one that I learned, I know sometimes I go home, I'm the grumpiest person in the world. Because I let people affect me. You meet all those nasty people, difficult people, we call them. The most difficult people on the planet are in Edmonton sometimes. You meet them on the bus. And sometimes you say, there's one guy. Oh, it's about time you got here. I've been sitting here the last week. Thank you for showing up. It's 5:30 in the morning. You get those gnarly people like that. And people, they dump their coins on the fare box. And they all spread all over the floor and they don't care. They just move on. See, if I were not in the renewal, I would go, you know, no. It's okay, pick up the coins, put them back. Little things like that, I was always challenged how to react and how to, sometimes I just want to avoid them and just leave them on the gutter there. And and the greatest challenge for me also for my job was drunk. My good friends, you can see them on the bus stop. I opened the door. My boss said not to open them, but in my heart of hearts, it's winter. I can't. I'm sorry. I have to let them in. I would let them in. I was doing better. You know, they're all drunk, swaying all over the floor. No basket, they don't even know where they are. They sit on the chair and they fall asleep. And they drive around and round and round. And after 2 hours, I just had enough of you, my friend. I think you got your duty rest. It's time to get off. Welcome to the Hotel California. Up the bus. So, brothers and sisters, I think my mission in life was just to be myself and to draw my energy, to draw my faith, to draw my encouragement of faith, still whenever I come here at prayer breakfast and to be with you guys. But what the Lord has been really getting into my brain, into my mind, is that fatherhood. It's fatherhood now and grandfatherhood. Sorry, just my dad just came into my mind. When he died, I had they asked me to speak, you know, some kind of words of remembrance, something like that, for eulogy. But it was a long time ago, in 2001. And the word that came to me that day was, if I can only have, that in my life, in my being a father now, and a grandfather, and an uncle, and all that, is if I can give my children, my brothers, a glimpse, just even if it's a tiny glimpse, of what God is really like as a father in my life right now. Man, that will be the greatest gift that God will give me. And so, with your prayers and all our prayers, and even in our lives, I think that's all we can do, is give to others a glimpse of who God is by the way we treat them, by the way we live our lives, especially those around us. Amen? Amen. Praise the Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you very, very much.